People who have won a win-a-day date with a celebrity competition. How was it? Back when the Spice Girls were big in the early 2000s. They were in town for a concert. A local radio station was doing a contest where you call in to win breakfast with the Spice Girls. I was a young teenage boy back then, who was at home sick from school that day. So for sheets and giggles I decided to call to try to win. I ended up winning. The radio station asks me my address and says the tour bus will be in front of my house in an hour. I am nervous as shit, because the Spice Girls were about to be at my house. And I'm just here all alone. Mind you, I am the shyest person you will ever meet. And a tour bus full of the hottest girl band on the scene was about to be at my house. So the bus finally arrives. Only it wasn't really the Spice Girls. It was 4 old ladies who called themselves the Spice Girls, who were cooks. They ended up making scrambled eggs, pancakes, and toast for me on the tailgate of their bus. It was the strangest, weirdest, most awkward thing ever. And no one but me was there to witness it. I had this happen once quite by accident. It was in 1987 and I was hanging out with a friend at her place. We were listening to the radio and the DJ came on saying he had tickets to a concert. I called and damned if I didn't win. The concert was the next weekend. They said they were doing a remote out of the Hard Rock Cafe that day and that I could come get the tickets there. Okay. Cool. We'll get the tickets. Grab lunch and then hill sometime till the concert starts. We head down there at the appointed time. Go and tell them why we are there and they lead us off to a side dining room and sit us down. They say we get lunch too and hand us a menu. As we are ordering, other people come and sit down at the table with us. They look like typical 80s headbangers. Then I realize they have British accents. I do a double take and think, damn, that guy looks like Joe Elliott. I glance around the table and seeing Rick Allen. Confirmed it. I'm sitting at a table with ducking Def Leppard. They were pleasant. Although really tired. Maybe hungover. They didn't act aloof or like they were being taxed by doing it and were actively conversing with a couple of starstruck teenagers. Overall, it was pretty cool. They gave us vinyl albums and autographed them. Gave us shirts and all sorts of other stuff. Definitely a good memory. Overall, it was a great experience. When I was 12 I won a contest to play video games with Linkin Park before a concert of theirs. There were these video game buses set up at the venue that I was asked to wait outside of while security brought the band out. The band ended up only being Rob, the drummer, and my brother-in-law, and I just stood outside the bus and talked to him for like 10 minutes before he left. I won a contest with my brother to spend the day in LA with Donald Faison. Personally, Scrubs was one of my favorite shows, so I was beyond excited to go. Donald was super cool. He even let my brother and I do the Eagle. Additionally, because it was the last taping of the season for his show The X's, he took us to an after party and we spent time with Wayne Knight, Newman from Seinfeld, while they were taping. I got a VIP pass and Donald told everyone that basically I could do what I wanted, which included walking behind set, meeting the cast and crew's family, and eating the food behind the set. It was one of the coolest experiences ever. Donald was an amazing host. A real down-to-earth guy and a genuine person. My only regret is that we didn't stay longer. I don't know if this quite counts, but in 6th grade I won a science competition called D-Submission and my group got a trip to DC. Our group's mentor was Arthur Fry, the guy who invented the post-it note. I was ducking thrilled and chatted with him non-stop the entire trip. And he couldn't have been more happy about having a bunch of kids hanging on to his every word about science. Flash forward 10 years and I got started as a reporter covering the Patent and Trademark Office in Alexandria. I'm at a gala there for inventors and I ran into Arthur Fry. It's been 10 years. So there's no way he remembers us. But I come up to him anyway and start talking about e-submission. Not only does he remember us, he remembers the project we presented. I was so thrilled. I won a contest when I was younger, like 14, to fly to New York and meet Marc Ecko, I was this skinny Midwest white girl meeting a clothing designer for street urban styles. I mean, me and my dad look so out of place. But he was the chillest dude. He showed us around the office, gave us food, let us sign some skateboards and walls. He had me do a photo shoot in his kids' line. We even went shopping in Manhattan with him and he bought me like $500 worth of brand name clothes. When we were out shopping he had a photographer with us and a personal shopper. People on the street were like, who is she? Because they thought I was famous. Lol. He was the chillest dude and didn't mind at all that we were there. He was doing a collaboration with 50 Cent and let me meet him and take a photo. It was such a weird experience and the only reason I won was because my dad entered tons of random contests and won a lot. But this was definitely the biggest he ever won. I love getting to tell people I've met 50 Cent. They never believe me. I won one of those ride with a professional snowboarder contests off of the website CCS. I had no idea that people won those things for real, so I was pretty stoked. Apparently I was one of about a couple thousand that entered to win the contest. I was able to take a friend, so I brought my cousin with me to fly out to Los Angeles to go snowboarding. We landed at LAX and one of the reps picked us up from the airport. He took us all the way to a place called MT High Resort, which was just a ghetto ski slope full of man-made snow. Not gonna lie, I loved its scatterpark feel. The professional snowboarder that I got to ride with was named Stevie Bell. He was a class act. Totally genuine dude. Didn't feel like he was forcing himself to be nice. Just felt like it was hanging out with one of the homies. 10/10 would do it again. Kind of related. In the 90s, my sister tried calling, at least 100 times, into a radio station to win tickets to meet the Backstreet Boys and was listening to the radio simultaneously to see if they had a winner yet. Unfortunately, they announced the winner, not my sis, but their voice sounded familiar. Then she realized it was her best friend on the radio. I don't like the Backstreet Boys. I just won for my best friend. So in the end, my sister did kind of win and got to hang out with fangirl over the Backstreet Boys. I will forever be jealous. Edit, they are still best friends after 20 years. And my sister, being obsessed with AJ, grabbed his jacket and he looked at her tween self like. Then they played some songs and that was that. I was friends with a girl and her brother when I was younger. Their mom suddenly died of cancer while they were still young. A short story contest came up at school that was nationwide and the prize was to visit the Harry Potter set in Europe and meet J.K. Rowling herself, along with some cast members. The prompt was something along the lines of, if anything from the wizarding world of Harry Potter could come true, what would you like it to be and why? To cope with the pain of her mother passing, my friend ended up writing an essay on how she would like a potion that could bring her mom back or just be able to see her and speak to her again. Weeks passed and she got the news that she, out of thousands of entries, won the contest. She got everything they said she would win, the tour and meet and greets. I remember showing us pictures when she got back of the whole experience and how truly kind everybody was. Got to meet some cast from Back to the Future on the 25th anniversary tour thanks to winning a radio contest. Christopher Lloyd didn't seem like himself due to illness, unfortunately. But Lee Thompson is an absolute sweetheart in person. I'd be shaking uncontrollably if I got to meet the cast of Back to the Future. Only moderately related, but fun nonetheless. A friend of mine came to DC for Obama's inauguration in 09. He's standing outside and looks around just before it starts, and notices the guy next to him is Edward Norton. He doesn't say anything because he didn't want to be that guy who ruined the experience for him. But a few seconds later some other people start screaming and making a scene. At this point my friend has stepped over and he just bursts a grin and says something like, "Yo, Ron, you got a couple more idiots thinking you're that actor." The fans hushed thinking he was a doppelganger. And my friend got to hang out with Norton after that. Not me, but a friend of mine won a similar competition. When we were in university, Brody Jenner was big for some reason. And my buddy was a bit of a class clown. Smart enough guy. But just has a great sense of humor. He decides he wants to win this competition, so he gets a big following behind him. The crux of the whole situation was that this competition was a vote to win format. Naturally, everyone voted for him. But in the end, Brody refused because my buddy was a dude. Fortunately, the campus bar felt bad about the situation and hooked us up with some free booze for the night. Spinal Tap. Back in the 80s in Detroit, I won an invite via a radio station contest to a small private concert with Spinal Tap. They never broke character, performed every single song from the movie, and were absolutely amazing musicians. To this day I would count it as one of the most fun nights of my life. I met Linkin Park at a meet and greet. They didn't do photos individually, and if you asked for more than one thing to be signed, they, security, threatened to kick you out. I was so sad at first. They also were just signing names, no messages. I had only one backstage and it was in my name, but my friend told me that their songs got him through a teen pregnancy and helped him out a lot. I couldn't really identify with that, and I guess still can't. When I'm depressed, music doesn't fix it. But anyways, Mike came over to me when it was my turn, and I politely asked for a moment of his time and told him about my friend waiting for me in the audience and if he could sign one thing for him. Mike wrote him a very nice and personalized note and was so sweet about it. My friend broke down in tears when I gave it to him. Can't thank them enough. Got to meet Flavor Flav at a private party. He was going to MC the night for a small group of about 10 of us. If you've seen him on TV, you get the impression that he plays a part of an ignorant douchebag. But that may be in real life. He's more real, and that was all just a show for the MTV cameras, etc. No. He really is that big of a dumb jerk. Maybe he was drunk, high, or some combination thereof. But the guy just seemed to be completely on another planet. Couldn't even make sentences or coherent thought. And he was getting paid for the event. So you'd think a musical performer would be in full game mode, just like a concert. Instead, he was like the ghetto rapper version of your weird uncle who sits on the porch drinking Old Milwaukee and yelling at squirrels. Do backstage passes count? I was the 9th caller and got to meet Toby Keith. Totally different than what you would expect. He got tired of me fawning over him with questions from 20 years ago. Is it true your demo tape had 4 future #1 hits on it? And he ripped into me. I want to talk about you. He rolled his eyes when I told him I had been certified gold more than him. I have a friend who was the celebrity people were trying to win a date with. He said the girl at one was unattractive but pleasant. Took a limo to get some dinner, then they went to pre-screening for a film. He was a movie critic. Sounded pretty uneventful. I got the chance to spend the day with Michael Jackson when I was a little kid. He even let me milk his cow. But for some reason I had to do it blindfolded. My sister got to meet Linkin Park and got to chill backstage. It was something she won at a massive drawing nationwide, then rubbed it all in my face. Until she got too proud and said, I told them that I like that monkey song, you know, the one that goes ooh ah ha ha. They just looked at me when I said it, but I had fun. I couldn't hold my laugh in. Christ, I would pay to see Chester just staring daggers at her. Won a contest, her sister private. We were 5 lucky winners. Fan interaction with Booker T and Gail Kim when they were promoting TNA. Great experience. Both were really cool to us. Signed autographs. Took pictures. And gave each a bag of TNA gifts. In college, I won a contest to meet Graham Chapman of Monty Python. It was one of the great experiences of my life. He was a really sweet, low-key guy. He didn't act at all like a comedian. He was a bit stiff and formal. Almost like a doctor. Very kind and polite. But seemed a bit uncomfortable being a room with a handful of awestruck college kids. I made a silly crack about how sad the hors d'oeuvres were and he laughed out loud. So now, for the rest of my life, I can say I made Graham Chapman laugh. It was barely a year later that he died. I was devastated. But it will always be a deeply treasured memory. I have his autograph framed on my wall. I won a radio contest in Europe back in 1994 to meet Nirvana at their last concert. I did not care for Dave or Chris, though they were super nice. I was annoyed that Kurt did not make himself available until after the show. He invited me and my friend into his staging room and apologized for being a big dig and not meeting us earlier. He was very cool, but I could totally tell this guy was burned and stressed out. I won a radio contest to meet Katy Perry at her Six Flags concert in San Antonio. TX. Clearly back in her early days. She signed a poster, took a pic with me, and complimented my dress. In person she looks exactly how she does on TV. And yes, da boobs real. Edit, I'm a dumb tit who couldn't words. Won some radio contest and New Found Glory came to play at my high school in Utah. It was awesome. I was right up front and center by the stage. Go to sing parts of a few songs when Jordan put the mic in my face. And afterwards got to chat with the whole band. They all autographed the shirt I was wearing. I probably annoyed the duck out of them in hindsight. I even snuck into the school before the concert started. And was up in the auditorium when the bass player, Ian, and their manager asked me what I was doing in there. And told me to go to detention. I always feel like these win-a-day competitions would either be very awkward or underwhelming. Back when X-Files was the new hotness of the 90s, either Extra or Inside Edition did a segment where they took an obsessed fan to the set of the show to meet David Duchovny. She was very disturbing in her interest in him. And at one point they had the two side by side in folding chairs. Talking. She was looking at him like she was trying to figure out how to knock him out and hide him in her luggage. While for his part he was looking everywhere but her. With an expression on his face like he was reconsidering leaving the realm of bicycle delivery boy for acting. I won a 17 magazine contest to meet Sarah McLachlan on her tour bus at Lilith Fair. I was a huge fan and it was a thrill. She was really kind to me despite my being a nervous, stammering wreck. I gave her my favorite necklace and she wore it on stage that night. It was seriously a teenage dream. Not a contest, but a good friend meet Prince while working at a custom RV tour bus manufacturer. There are several in our area and celebrities routinely flying for a data checkup on their tour bus, film lot trailer, etc. She said that Prince would not speak to anyone directly, but instead used his weirdo religion spaceman language to just make grunts and incoherent sounds. His spiritual interpreter would then translate into English something like, Prince said he prefers the mahogany trim, and so forth. The entire time he just chortled around the factory, spewing out the Sus style words and letting his minion translate for us mortals. This was during his non-Prince, now I'm a symbol phase. Also, the guy was into a bizarro religion called Ecko and the minion guy kept trying to convert them in the middle of discussing fabrics and furniture placement. Really? Really well actually. I won it at a local auction. We went quad bike riding. Had a lot of fun. He had a photographer with him to take pictures for his social media. I didn't mind. They were great pictures. Afterwards we went to dinner. Not too fancy, but still charming. We had the same kind of humor. Talked for nearly 3 hours. I think. The photographer left before the dinner started. BTW. At the end he asked for my number. OMG, I was so nervous. I really didn't expect that. I enjoyed myself. But I was never quite sure if he's just a bit pretending to seem sympathetic. He texted me a week later. We FK'd and now he's the president of the United States. When I was 19, I was into retro movies and music and very much out of the loop when it came to modern day celebrities. I was working at an innovation store in Miami, not Sharper Image, the other one, and a nice looking, muscular man in a tight black t-shirt and cargo pants came in. I asked him if he needed help, and he asked me a few questions and proceeded to buy about $1,000 worth of merchandise from me, not unusually high sale for that area. During the time I was helping him, People kept staring and whispering. And I assumed it was because of his physique. A guy like this does stand out. After the transaction was finished and I wished him a good day, I went back to the sales floor when my boss grabbed my shoulders and started screaming, "Oh my god. Oh my god." I looked at him like he was nuts and asked him what was wrong with him. He looked at me like I was crazy and said, "You don't know who that guy was?" I didn't. "That's The Rock." I shrugged, still in the dark, and went back to work. I wish I could go back to that day in 2001.